Okay, we're on the home stretch, everyone. So I'll let a few people sit down. What a beautiful day outside. I managed to get a quick walk in, and I said to everyone at the start of the conference, it's my first time in Canberra, and I managed to get a glimpse of Parliament House. Didn't realise how close it was, so I will definitely try and get a bit of a closer look on the way back today. We'll just dive straight into our first session for the afternoon, and welcome to everyone online. It's my pleasure to introduce Nikhil Patinge. He's a Director, Whole of Victorian Government Data Integration Service. Nikhil is a digital and data analytics subject matter expert with 12 years of experience in executive and technology positions. He's passionate about unleashing the power of data through analytics and digital transformation for better decision-making and enhanced customer experience. Nikhil leads high-performing teams to deliver by developing technology products and service design. If you'd like to welcome Nikhil, if you would like to come up.
Thank you.
And we're looking for questions from online because I'll be sitting down with Nikhil at the end of this and doing an extended Q&A. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. Can you hear me all right? Because I may just, turn around to the screen, etc., as I talk to all of you. Well, good afternoon. Nice that even after lunch you're here to hear me out. So I promise that I won't bore you to death with PowerPoint. I want to try and make this as conversational as possible. And I'm here for any questions afterward as well. By the way, hello to our online participants as well. Okay. So, see, today I want to present the case study of the whole of Victorian Government API capability program. Now, George has already introduced me and given a bit of my background. I'll just add to it. I've been with the Victorian Government for about 5 years and in various executive roles, including being the Chief Data Officer at the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions, the Director of Data Analytics during the COVID-19 economic response, and then the Director of the whole of Victorian Government's data integration capability, also known as the API capability. Now, as a community of data analysts, data scientists, and all executives in the data space, we all have definitely realized that analysis is extremely critical. We keep having conversations about the next frontier, which is AI, and everything that's going to get unleashed with it. What I have realized through my experience is what enables all of these powerful capabilities is something really fundamental, which is data engineering. So today is my attempt to present you our success story, the kind of impact that we have brought thus far to the Victorian Government, its outcomes, the priorities, etc., and to the citizens and businesses in Victoria through the whole of Victorian Government API capability program. So again, it's a case study. So I'll try and explain you the need and how it started, etc. Take you through the journey, show you what the platform and the service is about, some of the outcomes, and we'll head into QA. Okay? All right. I would like to start by acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Ngunnawal people of the Ngunnawal country, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. All right, a bit about the Department of Government Services. Now, you may have noticed that I've got Department of Premier and Cabinet in one of the introductions, etc. See, Department of Government Services is a new department that got formed after the most recent Victorian state government elections in 2022. The idea behind the Department of Government Services was to provide a horizontal service to citizens and businesses. And what I mean by that is generally the way governments are structured, we are sort of verticals in our own right, subject matter experts, Department of Education, Department of Economic Development, Transport, etc., etc. But the way the citizen, especially through a digital experience, interacts with the government is quite horizontal. They don't really care about which department is giving them the service. They just want the service. So it's really like a black box service that they expect. This is the attempt by the Victorian government to do exactly that. And we have already had strides in this regard with Service Victoria as one of the agencies, etc. But now this is the broader amalgamation of a lot of areas from within the government who are front-facing, citizen-facing, business-facing, etc., to bring them in together to provide a black box service to citizens, right? So that's the citizen-facing aspect of it. The other aspect of this is also the department-facing aspect of it. There are some common enabling capabilities that all departments require, right? All agencies and departments. So shared services like cloud enablement, identity provisioning, integration, basic data analysis capabilities, data integration, so all of that. So while one face faces the citizens and the businesses, the other face also faces internally to the departments and agencies to provide them with shared capabilities, so they don't have to waste their time and effort in actually bringing stuff to fruition or production by reinventing the wheel. Okay, so that's a bit about the Department of Government Services. Previously, we used to be part of Department of Premier and Cabinet in an organization called Digital Victoria. Since the MOG, I think we all are government servants here, so we may understand the term machinery of government. Digital Victoria has been moved into Department of Government Services. That reflects the change in my title as well. All right, I'll start with this. Why do we need access to data? All right, that's 100%. But, well, Victorians are no different. We, as Victorian government, is no different. Victorians have growing expectations of the government, especially we want to access modern government services digitally, especially after COVID. Like since 2022, 88% of Victorians want digital government services. And they just don't want services for a specific thing that they did offline earlier to just transfer it online. No, they want to play with data. They want to actually invent and innovate on top of it. So they want access to the data sets that the government has, public open data, etc. So all of these different frontiers of digital services, including the services themselves, plus the data sets, are the expectations of the Victorian populace. Now, government staff themselves also internally require modern solutions for sharing and accessing data. So you no longer want to just push paper around. You want modern, top-of-the-breed systems. You want to make sure that your work is easier. You want to make it a fruitful experience while you're a government servant as well. And you may be anybody from a case and a support worker, frontline worker. You could be an internal architect. You could be an analyst. You could be a leader. All of us have needs where we want to make sure that our work is as efficient as possible, again, in providing the services back to the citizens. So what was the problem, though? I think the need is well established. We all have always required data. That requires data to be shared from various agencies together to create a common response. Now, we as governments have always been great at policy, right? So the data policy has always been great. The data sharing frameworks, etc., have all been always there and have always been great, okay? But the problem was that the data sharing was constrained by technology. So it's really the operations, the real infrastructure that is needed to actually have the data sharing policies, etc., to be operationalized on the ground. We are no different, so it's the same with us. We basically, again, data sharing has always happened, but it's always happened in silos. All of us will definitely concur at some point in time where you had teams of people putting together Excel sheets and sending them through emails or sending them or dumping them in OneDrive and then collecting it from the other end, etc. Well, it's okay for some use cases, but as we modernize the stack and as we actually look at providing services to citizens at scale and mass, that is something that was just not acceptable. You definitely want to provide reliable, secure, 24/7 access to data in real time. Okay. You also want to reduce the costs at doing all of this internally for the government. If each department goes and just creates an own integration service or its own means to actually transfer data, you still will end up in a silo, a fancier silo. Like other than Excel sheets, you're just doing this again with the same sets of systems. So the idea was you need data, you have a problem in front of you where there is no unified layer which allows you to transfer data from point A to point B. And it was okay for some time, but especially there's a point in time where we stumbled on the first use case through the Royal Commission in Family Violence in 2017. If you would have followed the Royal Commission then in 2017, the recommendations basically spanned the different areas, but along with that, the recommendations were for the government to share data amongst each other quite efficiently. What was noticed that the responses given in any family violence situation, there are multiple agencies involved to provide a response. It could be the police, it could be, if there are children in that situation, you would have the education department, you would have the health agencies, etc. If there's a delay between transfer of data, or if one agency collects the data and there's a delay before the other agency comes in and probably asks the same questions, and starts collecting the same data points again, it's a frustrating experience for the people who are vulnerable. Now, unfortunately, there were some lives lost as well, which is what the Royal Commission pointed out, and hence highlighted the need to do better data sharing across the Victorian government. The approach, well, a central data sharing solution. So the idea was we commissioned in DPC a strategy to have a shared data integration platform, a real-time secure data exchange. So the benefits were enormous. Of course, you will have real-time data transfer, you will have common definitions, common patterns, etc., but you will drive enormous efficiencies. If it's plug-and playable, it's even better. The time for you to go to market with your data being integrated is just unmatched. That's what we did, and here's the solution. So the whole of Victorian Government API capability platform was launched in 2018 with a joint-up response with Family Safety Victoria to enable that first use case, where multiple agencies came together using a central information point with common definitions of data collection and then data exchanged among themselves. This particular platform then got expanded beyond that use case to actually encompass the whole of Victorian Public Service and was decided to actually be launched as a shared service, fully funded by 10 departments and Victoria Police together. Okay, so basically we'll enhance the interoperability of systems, reduce duplication of technology and operations cost, increase the quality and security of the government. Now the intention of this platform was really to ensure that it's product oriented, in that it's a ready IRAP certified platform ready to be used by departments and agencies, so that the admin overheads of regulation, the admin overheads of procurement, it's all taken away from them. It's certified by the government, used for the government. So departments, if they're ready with the data sets, can just plug and play into this technology straight away by building their integrations and focus just on building of the integration rather than the other peripheral things. Right? So it reduces the costs and also reduces the time that somebody needs to operationalize this. Now we established this through the Victorian Secretary's board mandate, where we also took an approach for the future, where the strategy meant that we take an API first approach. All the APIs that were created on the platform were also published, depending upon their access profile, to the Victorian Government Data Directory, which is also a product, which is a front-facing discovery product, where citizens can go in and log in and see if there are public APIs available. You can immediately start using that. There's a parallel portal for government servants internally. Based on the access profile, you'll be able to access APIs that you are entitled to. Okay. Again, the operational costs of the department of the platform are shared by all departments. So if the operations costs of the platform are X, we divide that equally between the departments, and each of us have a fixed fee per year. Okay. This is a proven service. Again, as I said, it's a centrally managed but decentrally operated 24/7, decentrally operated 24/7 supported, IRAP certified, so it can handle protected and secret level data, integrated API management solution, which really means we are the certified transporter of data from point A to point B. Okay, we've got all departments and agencies having their systems connected through the environments. That little complex diagram there is basically to say that any system from any environment, it could be your internal VPN environment, and you want to connect to an external cloud entity, you can still do that using the connectivity patterns that are already available within the platform. It's multi-tenanted as an architecture. So if I'm a department, from their view, it's exactly like going to an Azure or an AWS or any other modern cloud technology platform and just securing a tenancy. So if you look at it from a macroeconomic standpoint, from a government standpoint, it provides for a common integration platform as a service, derive savings, etc. there. But for departments, their behavior doesn't change. In fact, they actually get this as at a way reduced price. Now, we've had some great success with this. Now, the past 5 years, the platform has supported key government priorities, including the COVID-19 response. Now, these were the times when the platform was tested to its fullest, when we were proposing earlier that you'll have reduced time to market, etc. This is when it was tested and proved itself, in that, okay, this is the time you immediately need to start with an integration, create one, and have various agency data, especially about contact tracing and visitation APIs flowing through the system, connected to a front-end app, right? So all of that was possible because of this back-end engineering layer. Again, I've spoken about the family violence response. The other priorities were Department of Health secure data, the UPI exchange response, as well, unique patient identifier between the agencies of health and the Victorian Police Central Information Point. Now, the uptake of the platform has been enormous as well over the years. We currently run close to 850 million transactions per year. And this was a statistic pulled up probably in May. And since then, we've sort of just grown over time. Now, all of this is supported by a dedicated team of product, technology, and architecture and operations, with support from a managed services provider. On the side, we'll come to the team structure as well in a second. Again, just highlighting the various public safety initiatives that this platform has enabled. So the COVID-19 response, the Royal Commission to Family Violence, and the secure data exchange response. Each of them are 24/7 critical operations, real-time data. For those of you interested in technology, I'll just quickly run through these. Again, the connectivity, as I said, there are various patterns for it to connect to the systems internally and externally within your ecosystem. So basically allows for any permutation and combination, any systems. This, as I said, is a multi-tenanted platform. Now we have, as they say in the software world, eat your own dog food. We've sort of done that. We just didn't purchase an off-the-shelf iPaaS and just open it up to departments, because that would have just shot the costs up tremendously. But more importantly, the scale and the size at which the whole of government needs to operate would just not be efficient at all. So we are hosted in the Azure Red Hat OpenShift environment. It's a containerized environment, short form for virtualization, meaning there's logical way of running the software together. The tenants, as you see, you can create logical tenants in no time. This is all scripted through infrastructure as code. So if you're a department and need to start integration, or you're an agency and need to start integration, you approach us. Within weeks, we open up a tenancy for you, including the connectivity, and you can start creating your own integrations. So again, this is a product mainly for departments and agencies, so they are our primary customers. It's an enabling piece of technology. Okay. We also have community tenants in this. So if you're a department or agency like Department of Transport who wants to host real-time transport information and wants to release it to the public, especially as raw data, so that they can create their own apps on top of it, etc. We also have the public tenancy where all of these public-facing APIs are released into. Now, this is just internally of how the team provides some of these services. As I said, our customers are departments and agencies. So we've got a fixed fee structure, as I said earlier. Right? So there's some included services in that fixed fee where we then sort of are providing a pure integration platform as a service for a fee of utilization. So if you're a department or agency who can manage their own integrations, if you have an internal capacity and capability to do that, the included services for you are 24/7 support, and we sort of provide some additional consulting services on the top. We also charge you, if you're a department and agency, for consulting fees, meaning if you want to develop the integrations as well and don't have the capacity or the capability to do it, we've got an in-house team that also does that for you. So we support the platform and purely provide platform as a service, but we also provide a consulting service. The whole purpose of this is to drive further and further adoption of the platform into the VPS and reap maximum benefits out of this. Again, to the point of the maturity of various departments, we sort of grade them in belts, from do it for you, white belts, versus do it yourself, black belts. Okay, so there are some departments who have strong integration capabilities, and we've taken that admin completely away from them on securing a system and creating a system, etc., ready-made system. They just focus on creating the integrations, and that goes at pace. There are some departments who are white belts, and we do it for them. So we've got a bit of a fee structure. I can't reveal the fees naturally, but there's a fee structure. We've got if you just focus on this, we sort of offer this as a subsidized rates for the agencies, where the departments take the major chunk of this, so that it becomes efficient for agencies over time. So you've got the platform licensing, infrastructure, and operations fees here, and then you've got some API consulting and design 24/7 that we throw in as well. So that creates a fee for departments, and I'll put it into context of what it actually means in some time. And then you've got a separate rate card, like an SOW, if you may, for creating the actual integrations. So if your department wants to create an integration, we weigh it up and say, okay, well, this is less than 1 month of effort, it costs you X. It's between 1 and 3 months of effort, it costs you something more. And then we create also a product called Enterprise Connectivity Plan, which is really a blueprint to your own tenancy. So if tomorrow your team grows and there are people who come in and go, they should be able to manage their own tenancy. That's mainly for black belts anyway. All right. Again, what are the benefits for departments to actually use us, and how have departments benefited from them? If you look at the various crosses and the various ticks, all this says, and I've not shown you the pricing or what it would mean, but just know this, that we've got 25%, like our pricing per department per year is 25% less than what they might have spent just setting a platform up and still not receiving 75% of what they achieve with us, and especially the fees. This, by the way, went into the business case when we started off the build and continue with the operations. Now, this is the A team. It supports, I've got 5 verticals that report into me. So I've got a senior product manager who looks at the future of the platform, engages horizontally with the departments, understand what are their needs, etc., and tries to fit together that into a product offering. Then you've got the senior operations manager who will make sure that the platform is always supported 24/7, the maintenance and upkeep of it happens, and she's supported by a managed services provider. Then you've got the technology lead who leads the engineering side of things, who actually does the development of integrations and provides common patterns as well. Then you've got the architecture team, again, looks horizontally at the platform and the adoption for various departments and agencies. And you've got customer engagement, so individual customer, one at a time. This is where the relationship management, the engagement, etc., turns into play. So we really are a product and consulting shop within government, if you look at it that way. The future, where to from here? As I said, we've been operational for the last 5 years, and this has had enormous success, and the demand for this keeps on growing. The demand grows. In fact, that if we were a consulting firm, we would hire a huge bench, etc., and start doing this, but we cannot, fortunately. But the evolution of this is to have a full-fledged data integration service from here onwards. So you see that I've spoken about APIs. API is one means of doing integration. There are lots of other means to do integration, like event streaming, message queuing, caching, managed file transfers, etc. So these are all the various means in which data is moved from point A to point B. So if I draw a very rough analogy, we are a trucking company that moves things from point A to point B. At the moment, we just have general carrier. People want cold storage, and people also want hot storage as things get moved along. We don't have that right now. Now, that is what means that departments actually have to go on their own, and especially data-heavy departments like transport, health, etc., still need these additional capabilities. We are working through a business case, which we are quite confident will fly seriously well, and in fact will compound the benefits back to the department through costs, and again, using the same operating model. So we're going to plan and build a lot of these new capabilities and just offer them as features into the existing operating model. So from a department's perspective, if they're looking at 3 features right now, they'll just start seeing 5 features once these things are pushed in. We optimize the existing stack. Again, that's the ICD. We continue doing that. We are looking at enabling departments to migrate off legacy technology and minimize duplication of this across the service. And once this engineering layer has been really put into place, while we have data discovery now and we have various channels to do data discovery, we'll look at strengthening that entire discovery experience. I think that's what lays the future foundations, in terms of API economies, etc., as the world talks about. And this is where we'll pave the way for AI, etc., and all in the future. And we'll also, and for that, we're sort of considering what are the current funding models for departments. So right now, they sort of pay us a fixed fee, as I'd shown earlier, but with the addition of the equivalent of cold and hot storage transportation, not everyone will require that. So let's look at some fixed and variable. So if departments use that, you pay for that. You pay a base fee, and on top of that, you pay things depending upon your scale and usage. And again, this is a business case. As I said, the benefits will start compounding. Again, the pricing will become more and more attractive, and the benefits will start compounding for that particular pricing as we move along. So what are the key takeaways from this? It's been a journey of about 5 years. As very fortunate to be supported by a fantastic team, and also inherited this from a good leader who had brought this up from really a bootstrap startup to a place where I could look at scaling that with my team. So the lessons learned for this are, again, data engineering is the foundation of being successful with data. While data analysis, etc., can happen in silos, what we've noticed is at the drop of a hat, when something breaks or something needs to have real-time information flown from point A to point B, quite often we are called in to help immediately. So again, data engineering is that core bedrock that will really drive your analytics, etc. So again, I wouldn't preach, but invest and double down on creating that opportunity and capability. It's a journey, so embed that continuous improvement culture in it. It's going to be a slow and steady sort of a journey. Sometimes it'll have some wins, sometimes not. And I'll probably jump to this point. Your customer is the king, so don't compromise on customer service. Most of our departments actually put us in the same frame as vendors. So they're like, oh, why should I come to you if I'm getting the same thing from a Microsoft or an Azure? So it really are putting up a business case against private players at this stage as well. So customer is the king. Don't compromise on customer service. They expect the same 24/7 support. Your platform never goes down, ever. Get your stakeholders invested in the journey. It's government again, so a lot of consensus happens by committee to just make sure that while you draw your business cases up for a capability like this, which will draw enormous savings again, you still need to get people along the journey, and it will not be just fact-based. It'll have some sort of emotion to it as well involved. I'll come back to the top. It's a product-led journey, not technology-driven. This was one of the things that we definitely changed in the last year and a half. We were first throwing technology at this, but then we realized that, again, just exactly move it on the top. It should be product-led and technology-driven, not the other way around. Nail your business case, especially in the government context, and a funding model. Nail it before moving forward, even when you take the next leap as well. Have a big goal, but start small. Factor in the growth and the scale. You'd be amazed, for the first 2 years, the uptake was not that much, and suddenly COVID came, and then we just, the graph went to the roof, and then you had to factor in everything from costing to optimization, etc. So do consider scale upfront. So believe in your goal, and then consider that it will get scaled if it's delivered well. Again, data custodians, don't ignore them. Educate them on data quality and governance, because ultimately you're the transporters. But the data will still stay at custodians with them internally in the departments, etc. And make sure that the quality is always maintained, so that the transportation is not blamed, but it's not a blame level, more so that customers get what they're looking for. And finally, invest in and nurture your team. I think they will support you through this journey. So the growth mindset is the way to go. As they say, great people are found, not developed. So find great people. Thank you.
Take a seat if you like.
Oh, okay.
I'm not pronouncing your name okay.
No, Nikhil, that's right. It's all good.
Okay. What an innovative solution. Like, I guess what comes to mind is you've stood up your own compute as well. Like, because you could see as you scale this thing out, like if you were using traditional iPads, this thing would cost a fortune. And it's, you've obviously thought about that up front. So, congratulations on getting that right. And also, it seems like a centre of excellence as well.
It certainly
is. Is that right?
It certainly is. So, in the services that we provide, having thought about the architecture, etc., it's not just having this product and then leaving it to customers to use it the way they, just would like to, because that's not going to, get them the best results. Now, we are in a privileged position which allows us to have the purview of the whole of Victorian government. So I'm in that privileged position, which allows us to actually learn from what one department is doing right and passing those on to the other department. That's where the customer engagement really, plays a huge part. Our senior delivery manager, she'll ensure that we've got monthly cadences, just like a private organization, meets with customers, sits them down over coffee, etc., talks through the various things that they're doing, what they're anticipating, shares the learning from the other departments, etc. So yes, that entire area is indeed a center of excellence.
Okay, excellent. My phone was just, I'm not being rude, my phone just went off before, just at lunchtime. And it said Victoria trumpets digital driver license trial success.
Yeah.
So did that have something to do with you?
Not now, because
your area?
Well, it's got definitely to do with our department. So,
okay, great.
I'll take that back. Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's still it's a right now it's not exactly POC, but it's not open widely for the entire state yet. It's still just happening in Ballarat at the moment. But when it comes to the scale, we definitely internally will talk. So we are always in touch. But
wonderful. I can't wait for that too, because I always, I'm obviously like most people nowadays just take my phone when I go.
Absolutely.
And having that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Another question that comes to mind, Services Victoria, we've also got I think, the Victorian Centre for Data Analytics. I don't know what they call it nowadays. But yeah, you were talking about having data integration, and I know Services Victoria has identity in it. So how do you work with the other areas around that?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question because, see, we are a newly formed department. And the way the department is formed is not top-down, as in we didn't conceive the idea of the department first and then start creating the org structure below it. It was the other way around. We had got these excellent centres around the Victorian Public Service and we brought them in together.
Right. Excellent.
Right?
Yep.
So Service Victoria was already existing, VCDI was already existing, and we were already existing, etc. So we now, all of us are in together. Now there's operating model work that's going on. So over time, we'll sort of understand, how exactly we settle down with our operations with one another, how we learn to sort of interoperate and sort of get the best from one another. But anyway, like our engagement with one another continues. Like there would not be a single point where big initiatives happening and it'll happen in a silo. I think the culture of the department, that's where the awesome culture actually comes in. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Okay. I've got some... Oh, sorry. Okay. Let's do a few questions from the room.
Thank you very much. My question for you is looking at that future slide. In defence, we are having major issues with data discovery, and it sounds like you also have similar challenges. I'd love for you to elaborate on what pathway you're going down for improving data discovery.
That's an excellent question. Okay, first I'll answer about the pathway, and then I'll probably provide my views on it as well. If you look at data discovery, first look at who's the customer here, right? Again, you've got customers who are probably citizens, etc., and play with the data, but in your case, probably internal users as well who really want to just understand what are the various data sets, what do they mean, etc. for us. Now, again, the same problem applies to us as well, okay? The path that we are taking right now is this. Right now, data discovery is definitely fragmented. When you're talking about the service as a whole, with so many departments and agencies, you've got 12 departments and more than 500 agencies, 1,000 agencies actually. Data discovery and unify that in a single place is always going to be difficult, right? So it's not a silver bullet. We'll say, all right, everyone has to come through this portal, etc. But the pathway that we have is, again, we want to take an agile and adaptive way of doing this. Having the advantage of an engineering layer means that a lot more integrations are just moving in from every single department over to our platform. So they've got departments which have actually chosen us as their integration platform. So they're actually defining all the migration strategies, etc. come over. What will that do is it'll create essentially like a telephone exchange, the exchange board that you have where you've then got all the APIs and all the data integrations running through this. And that's the time that you look at unifying the integration experience. So right now we do integration in silos, we do it well as well, right? But there are areas from across the VPS who do it. There'll be a time that we definitely need to get them together, and we continue these conversations currently. But again, it's a journey. It's not a top-down approach on that, right? That's one. My view on that is, again, the customers, as citizens, etc., don't care which portal they log in into. All they need is one login. They need to understand what data sets can they look up, search for, and start using. So do the internal department people. So again, I think the reality of the situation is it will remain fragmented even in DoD for some time. I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't happen, if it doesn't get unified in some time. But we'll just have to keep at that. It's a people coming together problem, not a technology problem, in my opinion.
Any other questions from the floor before I jump online? Okay, I'll keep going. Okay, so what did capability training look like to ensure that all departments could use this platform successfully?
Great question again. So for us, we sort of understood the space first to see where departments are at in their integration journey, data integration journey. What technologies do they use? We really found that there were about four main players, and then you had got some legacy technology. So legacy technology meant TIBCO, or it could mean web methods, etc. And modern stacks meant MuleSoft. You had the Azure services, you got the AWS services, and probably likes of Kong, Boomi, some Kong as well, etc. So again, the ones who needed us the most, we started off with them. What we noticed that what we noticed was that the areas which were having legacy but had the urge to actually move on to a modern tech stack were really keen, and their teams were ready. The teams were just working on old technology, so we trained them up. So the training for that looked really like what you see on the tech stack. So our tech stack is Azure, our tech stack is MuleSoft, and our gateway is on Axway. So we've got partnerships with all of these vendors, and we make sure that we get the necessary training for the VPS in each of those areas.
What does the Axway give you? Extra security?
It's just a gateway. So
just a
really,
gateway,
it's just a
right.
gateway. So it does everything that a gateway does. It definitely provides an abstraction layer, but it does rate limiting. It does logging, monitoring, and analytics, and all of that. It just provides. It also it also has the potential to make us MOG-proof, which is if in government departments move all the time. You don't want to actually have URLs broken, etc. all the time.
Understand.
Right? The gateway allows for that complete abstraction.
Okay. What was the buy-in to get this program off the ground? With the potential risks and sensitive nature of data, how can you convince a large number of teams that data sharing can be a good thing?
Well, and these kind of questions are always tricky. See, I think again, it's this moment we start into the security space and the sensitivity space. It generally tries to jump away from the logical realm into the emotional realm as well. So really, it's the coalition of the willing first. Right, you want to really provide examples. You need a use case. You got to start. That's why I said in the takeaways as well. Start
violence.
small. You can't just open this to you can't create a multi-million-dollar program and just start executing that day one and wish that customers come to your restaurant. That's not going to happen. It's really going to start small, and then they see, all right, if critical information like the information involved in family safety can move through a central information point hosted on this area, I'm pretty sure most of the departments don't have information as critical or sensitive as this information is. So if that can be done, reliably, and this is the platform always has uptime, there are no disruptions in service, etc. I will try that, and then just one domino falls, and then the other, etc. And then I'll come over.
I understand. I have seen. It's interesting that a lot of what's been driving this kind of initiative is reporting and things like that, trying to bring data together so you can make decisions. And I think what's interesting as well to me is that in the past, you used to try and get all this data from other departments, bring it all together and then look at it. But there's been a number of cases in Victoria, and I know also in work that I've been involved in Darwin, where they didn't have the up-to-date information. They needed information that was a few hours old to avoid issues. And so do you see yourself, because normally when we talk about analytics, we talk about strategic, tactical and operational information, and we kind of try and get operational reports and things out of our systems, and then we go up from there. But you're moving operational stuff around, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, it's a great point. Actually, I prepared a slide where see, data is definitely used for analysis. That's where it gets the most limelight, I would say. But then without data, you just can't do operations in the end, right? So for us, really, the use case was to enable operations in the first place. Like it's probably an area which is the most neglected, where, okay, well, I can't do the analysis because the data is old. Oh, well, it's vastly different than you not being able to service a customer standing in front of you because the data is old. So really, yes, the initial focus is operations. But once you take care of the operations use case, I think the analytics use case also takes care of itself.
Yep. No, wonderful. Thanks for the presentation, Nikhil. Did you have to develop the prototype of the platform from scratch, or did you use other existing platforms as a benchmark? And how did you measure the success of the platform?
So again, this, as I said earlier, the first use case was developed specifically in coordination with Family Safety Victoria. So it happened really in Department of Health. And we noticed that there's a wider use for that. So we definitely started building off that, right? What is the other question? Sorry.
Sorry, let me read it again. It's dropped off now, but I think they were saying, how did you, prove out the concept? So did you build a prototype, or did you,
Yeah. So exactly. So we started from prototype. I don't remember the question now. So they asked, well, how did you benchmark, and how did you realize the benefits of this?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So again, we definitely took it from an idea that so we're DPC, so we're a central agency. So definitely took it from the idea of service for Family Safety Victoria. Realized, okay, this has got great potential. Brought it in, expanded on top of that. Definitely optimized the technology stack. made it multi-tenancy, etc. Some of the KPIs that we have is really the workload. So there are two major. One is the number of transactions that flow through platforms, which actually tells about how much is our service uptaken by all customers. It could be external developers or internal use cases. The second is the number of integrations that are getting built and getting built per unit time. You also see that as well. The third is we try to quantify that, but that's more qualified in whenever there are unfortunate or emergency situations, can we come to the rescue? And did we make a difference then if there was an issue earlier having that particular service delivered? That's another one. And the last one is your traditional but very important customer, the way your customers talk about you.
Yeah. And I've got to wrap things up now, but just as you were talking, I also kind of know that over many decades across Australia, the thing that probably most contributes to overruns in system implementations is integration. It just happens time and time again. So having this kind of centre of knowledge, centre of excellence, I think is a fantastic idea. So again, congratulations and thank you for coming and presenting, Nikhil.
Thank you so much. Yes, the success is as much mine as much as my team. So I wouldn't be able to do that if I weren't supported by a team and an excellent customer base as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here. You've been a great audience.